Hello and welcome to Pakistan Television World Special Transmission. I'm your host Shahzad Raza. We are discussing the Indian narrative, the false narrative, the Indian jingoistic media, false accusation against Pakistan, the false flag operation, and hurling of allegation against Pakistan as India always do. The question is, whatever happened in illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir, it had nothing to do with Pakistan. In the past, India had a history of orchestrating such false flag operation and hurling allegation against Pakistan, but the world is not, the world comprises no fools. It is evidence that India, whatever it's doing, is doing just because of whatever it feels right for itself. Narendra Modi, the title given to Mr. Modi as a butcher of Gujarat many years ago when he was the chief minister of the province and the massacre happened, 2000 plus Muslims were killed in Gujarat. And the title of Butcher of Gujarat, it was not given by the Pakistani media or any anti-India leader, but by the leadership of India. The opposition parties, of course, the common people, the Indian media, they blamed and held Mr. Modi responsible for the killing of all those innocent Muslims. And the interesting fact, just to refresh your memories, that at that point in time, the United States of America banned the entry of Narendra Modi into its territory, and only after he became the Prime Minister of India, that restriction was lifted. So when this false flag operation took place a few days ago in illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir in India, the world understood that it was India designed to malign Pakistan. Whatever India doing in Balochistan, in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, in rest of Pakistan through its proxies, either they are operating from Afghanistan or whether some of their elements are residing inside Pakistan, it's evident to each and everyone. And it was evident why? Because the United Nations Security Council refused the resolution put forward by India in which it wanted to accuse and hold Pakistan entirely responsible for whatever happened. But that resolution was not passed by the United Nations Security Council. In fact, they condemned the attack. They demanded that perpetrators, whoever they were, should be brought to justice, and that exactly was the demand the Pakistan made several times. In fact, Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif offered India to present evidence and share evidence with Pakistan, so that in case that they wanted help from Pakistan, Pakistan already and eager to support India to hold those responsible to justice. But how it could how it is possible? Because it was a false flag operation by the Indian intelligence agencies, Indian armed forces. So there is absolutely no questions of any sharing of any evidence or any intelligence information. So we are continuing this discussion to expose what India is trying to tell the world, but India already exposed, and this false narrative is nobody's buying this false narrative anymore. So in the studio, I am being joined by Mr. Pitafi, senior analyst. You see him on Pakistan PTV World screen time and again. Thank you so much, Pitafi sir, for your valuable time coming all the way at this AM. And we have with us Mr. Jauhar Saleem. He's a former foreign secretary. He's in the studio. Thank you so much, Mr. Jauhar Saleem sir, for your time as well. Jauhar Saleem sir, to you. So and Qamar Cheema Saab also joined us on the video link. Thank you so much, Qamar Cheema Saab, for your time as well. Jauhar Saleem Saab, so Pakistan's response, matching response, as a common man, I mean, I felt proud that our leadership, they stood fast, and they told India that we are not going to be blackmailed in any way. So how did you feel as a common Pakistani citizen and a very senior former civil servant?
Well, it's very clear by now that India's initial attempt to intimidate Pakistan by coming up with unprecedented measures. We all know that Pakistan and India have been involved in wars all-out wars in 1965, 1971. There have been other military conflicts as well. But Indus Water Treaty, Indus Waters Treaty has never been, in their sort of, perspective, suspended or held in abeyance. This was a drastic escalation by India, very irresponsible, and setting in place a spiral of escalation. In response, what we noticed was that Pakistan took its time. Pakistan took its time. Pakistan did not immediately react to that. There were meetings, consultations, meeting of the National Security Council, and after that, Pakistan came up with a measured response to all the actions, all the measures announced by India, very provocative, very threatening. And more importantly, Pakistan came out defining its red line. And what is the red line? The red line is, they said, okay, you have held this treaty in abeyance, which is illegal because the treaty has no provision whereby you could unilaterally do that. But waters, as an upper riparian state, there are certain responsibilities that you have, and there are certain rights we have as a lower riparian state. And there's a whole body of international law on that, which forbids any actions such as the ones India is contemplating.
True that.
And Pakistan said, if India tries to stop the flow of water or divert the waters from those rivers, then that will be constituted as an act of war. And why did Pakistan say that? Because, look, water, we all know, that's a key element for your food security, key element for your economy. And in many ways, it constitutes a linkage to your territorial integrity, because you have a right to all those waters.
If you allow me, sir,
in terms of geography.
If you allow me, can I ask a question? One thing is that it is abundantly clear with our response that we really cannot be intimidated or blackmailed or strong arm by India, no matter what, number one. And the thing is, when you say the violation of Indus Water Treaty, I remember for many, many years, India refused to share the authentic and true data of whatever water is flowing from India to Pakistan. And at least they built 3 big reservoirs. To give you 2 examples, the Kishan Ganga project, Baglayar project, and they had no right under that treaty to build that reservoir. They had the right to produce electricity from the flowing water, but to control the water, the flow of the water, that was not legally allowed under that treaty. So India was violating that treaty for many, many years. So what's the difference?
So the difference is, first of all, the treaty itself has a range of options in terms of dispute resolution mechanisms. So, and they're listed there. After Baglayar, we went for those options, and of course there was an arbitration. Then in the case of Kishan Ganga, again, like all the relevant clauses or the treaty, as per those relevant clauses, Pakistan, of course, accessed the preventive measures. And Kishan Ganga, we have to recall that the resolution of Kishan Ganga was more favorable to Pakistan than the resolution of Baglayar dispute. But you see, despite that, we stayed within the treaty. I mean, that treaty, we know that, that we have a lot of objections on that treaty. Over the years, Pakistan has lost a lot of its share of waters as well. But we have been abiding by the treaty, because we are signatory to the treaty, which was under the auspices of World Bank, many other international institutions.
Right.
And the important part is that treaty in some ways safeguards the basic premise.
Fine. Point well taken. Just hold on here, Ambassador Jauhar Saleem Saab. Farooq Pitafi Saab and Qamar Cheema Saab, I am not going to ask you guys any question. I am just going to show you a brief video. And on that video, I want you guys to offer a fair and honest comment without thinking that you are sitting on a state channel in Pakistan. Just give us a fair comment. So please, the video.
Narendra Modi is directly responsible. Narendra Modi met senior police officers and ordered them not to intervene in the rioting.
A BBC investigation titled India, the Modi Question, has said that Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi held direct responsibility for the 2002 massacre of Muslims in India's Gujarat state. Nearly 2,000 people, a majority of whom were Muslims, were reportedly killed by a Hindu mob when Narendra Modi was Gujarat's chief minister in 2002. The violence, triggered by a controversial train burning incident, resulted in the displacement of tens of thousands of Muslims and the destruction of hundreds of mosques. The BBC report said that so much damage could not have been inflicted without the climate of impunity created by the state government. It added that there was widespread and systematic rape of Muslim women with the intent to purge Muslims from Hindu areas. The report also stated that the systematic campaign of violence has all the hallmarks of ethnic cleansing. Critics had given Modi the moniker of the Butcher of Gujarat for not controlling the violent Hindu mobs in time. Narendra Modi was elected India's Prime Minister in 2014 and is currently serving his second term in office. His political career has been dogged by accusations of fueling anti-Muslim sentiment and disregarding minority rights. Modi's supporters claim that the BBC has targeted their leader due to its anti-India and anti-Hindu bias.
So the viewers, that report was not produced by any Pakistani channel. TRT and BBC, they are the most credible, two of the most credible channels in the entire world, and they were basically reporting. Of course, the report was old, but of course the incident was also old when Narendra Modi was the Chief Minister of Gujarat, and that unfortunate and horrendous incident took place in which thousands of Muslims lost their lives, and Narendra Modi was given the moniker of the Butcher of Gujarat. Qamar Cheema Saab, no question, just a comment on this video.
Thank you very much. I think this report tells that how Prime Minister Modi basically is working for spreading extremism within the Indian society, and how this hatred is going down into the Indian society, and how the division which we are seeing. First, this division was within India, which we saw, and this division was on communal lines, on religious lines, on political lines. That's why I think the Economist called Prime Minister Modi as a divider in chief. These were the words that came from the Western press for the Prime Minister Modi. So, and this doesn't stop here. We are seeing that how he's fanning radicalization and extremism within the rank and file of Hindutva. And you know, the entire RSS apparatus. Even just a few days ago, there was a report in the Daily Mail in the UK where the British authorities unearthed a network where the Hindutva network in United Kingdom was working closely with the far right British political parties to malign Muslims. So this extremism is everywhere. This is in India. This is now in the Europe. So they have been working on that. And Prime Minister Modi believes, if you just look at the pattern, since he is in power since 2014, every 5 years, when he comes in power, there is one incident. So there was one incident in 2016, another in 2019, and now he came in power again, and there is an incident in 2025. And every...
Hear me, Cheema Saab, sorry to cut you if you can hear me, because we have to relieve Jauhar Saleem Saab, he has to go. But before I ask the final question to Mr. Jauhar Saleem, Pitafi Saab, your comment on this video, and does this guy really deserve to be called a Prime Minister of the so-called the largest democracy in the world?
Thank you very much, Shahzad, for the question, and thank you for the invite. First of all, regarding the term you were using, or they were using, Butcher of Gujarat, I think that was 25 years ago, right? Or 23 years ago.
But still,
right now,
still fresh.
Hang on, but there's something new that is happening. Now India is dominated by the butchers of common sense, and that is their media. If you are watching, I swear, as a reporter, as a journalist, I have seen many things in life, many stupid things in life. I haven't seen India's media being so stupid. There was a time when they used to be most competent people, and we used to follow their example. But now the kind of khichdi they make on television, shouting on television. So one spokesman is coming and talking about realities of his below the belt realities of
And
his
I know, and you know several sane Indian journalists.
Yeah.
Where are they right now?
They are smoked out. They are only sitting on YouTube, and now they are under pressure also.
Okay.
But this is the state of affairs right now. Earlier you were talking about Indus Water Treaty, right? And I was thinking that there used to be competence in India. The holdovers of that competence actually went and even landed, their space program on moon. But now I don't think they simply have the competence to divert waters. What are they going to do? Drink it up, right? Or flood their own country? Because they don't have the kind of modifications that are needed, right? It might, in the long term, they can do whatever they want to. But in the short run, the way they are projecting that we are going to actually not be able to make tea without water, and that's why their pilots are not going to worry about tea, right? But then we showed them, our memes showed them, that tea can be made with milk only as well. So you're welcome to try and welcome to come over.
All right. Saleem sir, final question, sir. The thing is, you held a very important position in Pakistani bureaucracy, and of course, I'm not asking you to divulge any information, any sensitive information, because you took the oath. But the point is that you must have come across so many times the information in which Indian involvement was visible, that how many Pakistanis lost their lives, lost their properties, because India was always trying to destabilize and trying to do some act of terrorism in Pakistan. So the thing is, that is one incident which was a false flag operation, not our doing. But what we faced for last so many decades is the India's doing, and we shared at so many times so many evidences, the dossier, the famous one, and aged by then Prime Minister Gilani and Manmohan Singh late. So what do you think that why they did not listen to all these sane and sagacious arguments?
If you're talking about the international community or the
I'm talking about the Indians.
Okay.
Difficult thing that they would listen.
Well, the Indians, you see, they have a strategy. We have to, of course, understand that. And, in that strategy, it doesn't really matter whether, you're misinforming, you're sort of, like, as Pitafi have said, you're butchering common sense or truth or whatever. I mean, you see, like, in the historical sort of, in terms of the historical icons, there are parallels drawn to Machiavelli. So in that terms, the Kautilya is there, Chanakya. So they don't really, and these type of strategies have been employed by India for many, many years now. We know that.
But even the Machiavelli must be shifting in his grave. What Modi is doing at the moment.
Ajit Doval, on many instances,
yeah,
when he tried to expound upon or sort of initiate his concept of what he calls the offensive defense. And he basically said that we will make Pakistan bleed. And how? And then he explains that, like there's some videos that I saw which have been subsequently expunged from the sort of social media somehow. They're hard to find. They're hard to find now.
Yeah.
But what did he say? He said, okay, we can help the terrorist networks work against Pakistan. And India has been doing that. India has been doing directly, or through Afghanistan, or through sort of, other proxies as well. And this is a long and tragic story, unfortunately. And it is part of their basic strategy of sort of, being the hegemon of the region. That's what it is. That is one. And number two, it is about, their attempts to prevent the Kashmiris living in the Indian occupied Jammu and Kashmir to exercise their right of self-determination. Even now, what we see is this, and that would be my last comment. You see, their frustration is evident from the fact they came up with this plan after, and we saw manifestations of that. August 2019, 35A revoked, 370 article revoked. Then they were what they're trying to do is to change the demographic balance of that disputed territory against the international law, against all norms and sort of, and totally illegal. And they think that with a massive injection of sort of, economic investment there or economic opportunities there and bringing tourism there, they can just sort of, change the whole dynamic whereby the dispute doesn't exist anymore. That is the strategy. And this strategy has failed again and again. But they're still, and that is why they're so frustrated now, because suddenly if you see the Indian newspapers, they find that 80% of the cancellations for tourists, and now in terms of the sort of, what they were planning in terms of, the hundreds of thousands of domiciles that they've been issuing, all their plans in terms of gerrymandering they're doing already, because they wanted to show to the world.
Taking advantage of your presence and your experience. Just forget what Mr. or President Trump told the media at on board Air Force One, but there are several countries sincerely trying to de-escalate the situation, escalated at the first place by the Indian government. So you think that all these efforts by the telephone calls on the hotline by the Saudi leadership, Iranian leadership, they would pay off, and it would convince India, don't go for that sort of steps that you would regret in the end.
Yeah, I've been saying that in my comments in the last couple of days, ever since this sort of whole saga started, that the world cannot just stay aloof of what is happening here, because this is South Asia is a region of 2 billion people, 1/4 of the world population. These are two nuclear states, and they know the recklessness that India has exhibited more than once. I mean, multiple times actually, and that is why we see. And I had actually predicted that you'll see in the coming days these diplomatic endeavors, and I believed, and it seems to be the case now, that first discreet diplomacy was taking place already, and then it came in public view. So we, as you mentioned, the Saudi foreign minister, the Iranians, and it's, the Chinese as well. Many other countries, the prime ministers and the president, they've called they've talked to Prime Minister Modi. Now, they try to sort of project it as they have been expressing solidarity.
Sure.
But it's not just that. Along with sort of condemning terrorism or whatever, they would also be telling the Indians, they would be really asking the Indians to show restraint, to adopt a reasonable attitude, and to de-escalate. That is the key thing, to de-escalate. In the UNSC, we see what has happened, the statement that has come from there. It is Indian media is saying it's very watered down. Why is it watered down? Okay, Pakistani presence was there, that's one thing, China was there. But the main thing is the world does not have the appetite now to sort of, and the world knows what Indians have been doing themselves.
Exactly.
It's just a few days back that we had that sort of, like the Jauhar Express incident in sort of, terrorist attack in Balochistan. So with all that, I think you will see increasing international pressure for de-escalation.
All right. Thank you so much, Jauhar Saleem Saab, former Foreign Secretary of Pakistan, he being with us in this transmission. We are being joined by Ms. Naila Chohan, Ambassador Naila Chohan, on the telephone. Thank you so much, Ambassador, for joining us, giving us the time. You just heard Ambassador Jauhar Saleem saying that the world doesn't have the appetite of another full-scale war, and particularly between the two nuclear armed states. But the question is, we are behaving in a very sane manner. We are giving all these options to the Indian government that they should share the evidence and whatever grievances they have, then they should come on the table. But on the other side, there is no positivity, as we see. What do you think that these efforts, all these efforts, do you think that these efforts are going to pay off? Because we are not concerned whether India is willing to trust us or not, because that was a false flag operation, and we are done with listening to all these lies, and we are done with facing all those allegations, false allegations against us. So what's your take on that all these diplomatic activity by the friendly countries, would they pay off in the end or not?
Inshallah, they will. Firstly, thank you so much for inviting me to your program. I agree with Ambassador Jauhar that yes, the world doesn't have appetite, but not only the world, India itself doesn't have the capacity. It's just Mr. Modi who is going into elections in Bihar and is very insecure, number one. Number two, in his last visit to United States, I think the Americans had asked them to now clearly take a side against China. And India, always pretending to be a big power, but really not honest about it, could not stand up to China. So therefore, they created this false flag operation to distract, because this is the time J.D. Vance was in India, to tell him, oh, we would have stood up to China, but what can we do? These Pakistanis keep us engaged. Which was a lie. It was a lie because they don't have the honesty and the courage to tell the Americans that they do not have the potential. India always likes to take benefits by telling lies. It had been buying from Russia, selling it to the rest of the world, and making benefits. Now, Mr. Trump has drawn the lines, and Mr. Modi could not sustain it. So it actually shows that India is not the power that the West thought it was. India does not have the potential, let alone China. They don't even have potential to stand up to us. And now they are caught in a bad situation. They never expected that Pakistan would stand up and expose their lie. They thought they will get away with it, which they are not getting away with. So it has actually backfired for them, Mr. Raza. You see, until now, after 2019, abrogation of Article 370 of their constitution, which is not international law, they called it an integral part of India. And now they have internationalized it, because everybody is talking about Kashmir as an international dispute.
True that, ma'am. Bilkul, exactly. Rightly pointed out. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much, Ambassador Naila Chohan, for your time. Pitafi Saab, we have all the time to discuss and listen to your excellent observations and comments, as you always do. The question is, the Ambassador Chohan just mentioned about the insecurity of PM Modi. Why is he insecure? He claims to be the Prime Minister of the largest democracy in the world, having a big mandate, all these big businessmen, the politicians in his pocket. Why is he insecure and doing all this stupid stuff?
Right. The answer lies in the conundrum faced by somebody who's riding a tiger, right? If you're riding a tiger, you're king, you're so powerful. But the moment you fall down, the tiger actually devours you, right?
You are eaten by the same tiger.
Yeah, you are eaten by your own, vehicle, so to speak. So I think that at this moment, this hate monster that they have created and they cannot manage. By the way, look at how Indian media and their intelligentsia are actually treating this whole thing. They are not only bashing Pakistan, they are also bashing all of Muslims in India, because they are using it as a communal card. So that is what gives them traction in elections. That's what has been supporting them for so much time, and that's why they continue to do all these things. Unfortunately, it seems that this time they have jumped the gun. Pakistan has played its cards very well by demanding evidence. If there is evidence, why not share it, right? If you have evidence, and by the way, today's news, and I kid you not, they have asked their national investigative agency to look for evidence today, right? Just imagine, they have already been trigger happy. They have, suspended IWT.
But given
and now they're looking for
their history, I'm not amused that they are demanding the evidence after hurling allegation against everyone in the world, including Pakistan.
Yeah, but the problem with that is, for a moment it might play into your gallery, but then what happens? Then you are left clueless and looking stupid. Right now, the kind of, IWT, Indus Water Treaty, suspension of that is something like invading a country or nuking somebody, right?
I'll give one question, and a very unorthodox question. The question is, even if there was some external element involved in that horrific incident. In the end, it was the failure and the responsibility was the Indian government to secure their own citizens. I mean, that was a highly militarized zone, highest
that is not all.
Yeah.
Look, today one of the greatest so-called anchors was actually demanding the state or union territory chief minister to answer for the security failure. Any fool would tell you that since India is a union Kashmir is now considered a union territory, because of that the police is controlled by the federation.
Of course.
Right? By the union government.
Yeah.
If that is so, if their own so-called geniuses don't know what exactly is going on, then what else can you say? It was a security failure, plain and simple. So many people being allowed in a kind of conflict zone without any security, and at a time when the access is so difficult as well. And do you know what? They did not even have hospitals there. They did not even have proper toilet there, right? Sending so many people is asking for trouble. And this is the second part of the false flag. On one side, you can send your own people to kill your own people, right? On the other side, you know that there might be angry parties and there might be militants around. You send people without security to bait them.
Exactly. The question is, now, right now, India being governed by these extremist Hindu ideology led by Narendra Modi. Hindutva. Okay, not Hindu, Hindutva ideology. Thank you so much for correcting me. The point is, whenever we say that all those disputed issues should be resolved by dialogue, sitting on the table and discuss like gentlemen and in a proper civilized and diplomatic manner. But the point is, can you believe a person like Narendra Modi, who many years back was involved in the killing of 2,000 Muslims, and I don't know, that was an official figure released by the Indian authorities or the international media, and right now when they are conducting false flag operation, killing 26 of their own citizens. How on earth can you trust the people like them?
Right, and that is not all. Look, I'll get to Narendra Modi because that is a very juicy bit of the discussion. But I wanted to just remind you that the media who is actually crying, and by the way, my heart goes out to the people who lost their loved ones. I'm a civilian. I don't believe killing any civilian is allowed or should be permitted, right? But here's the fact, that the same media who is actually now accusing us and losing it was celebrating when Jauhar Express was taking place, right? And I mean, there were civilians in that train also. And you did not think for a second, at least I have the decency, you have the decency of condemning murder of civilians, right? But they couldn't do it and they kept on telling that you asked for it.
Our thoughts and prayers for everyone, the families who lost their loved ones in that tragic incident, of course.
Absolutely.
Whoever did that.
So now this is one aspect of the ugliness of jingoism that is dominating India. The second thing about Narendra Modi, I don't think that Narendra Modi today is the same one who was in 23 years ago, right? I think that after becoming Prime Minister, he tasted statecraft, statesmanship, and this image of being the, wish guru, so to speak, right? Because of that, I think he wants to transition from this situation into a statesman. But the sad part is because his party has learned this is how you elevate yourself in the party, by actually killing more people.
At what cost?
Yeah, by killing more people and creating more communal tensions, or then creating some kind of confrontation with Pakistan. This is why they continue to do this. Amazingly, double standards. For example, they fought with China. They fought with China. Their soldiers were killed, and then they lost their territory. You never hear any of their leaders using this kind of language for China.
No, but why in the process? Absolutely,
because China is more powerful.
Of course, right? I agree with you. But in the process, don't they understand? The people like Narendra Modi or other people, I mean, they had a history of violence, of course. But even then, I mean, they learn the statecraft and they are the politicians and, you know, enjoy the support of many, many people in India. Don't they understand that they are basically planting the mines that would, in fact, in the end, implode India to an extent that they would not recover at all?
Yeah, anybody who actually mentions that, that India can fall apart, they call them Tukde Tukde gang, right? And then they call urban Naxalites, and they keep on actually betraying anybody who is being sane. And that's why they're out of the system. Last fortress was NDTV, and the way Adani actually took it over was astounding before your eyes, right? But the problem right now is that they don't care what happens to India in the long run. This is the problem with fascism. This is the problem with populism, that you don't worry about the long-term effects.
What about all that the so-called proud of being the thousands years of old history and everything?
That's short-term play. At this moment, tell people what exactly is going on, and you are Vishguru, you are so powerful, and celebrate it, right? Because that gives you electoral mandate.
Where are the sane voices? I mean,
they're gone.
You may have several Indian friends, the people, some mind, they apply the mind, and even they question the state narrative, the false narrative. Where are those people?
My dear friend, most of them have either left India or they are in their houses cowering and thinking that they might not be killed like one of the people who had a voice and conscience, and they were killed in broad daylight. So this is the cost, right? Sadly, there is a better answer. At this moment, if Modi ji really wants to transition into a statesman, you don't need to do that. What you need to do, this affair, deflate it, right? How do you do it? First, you're talking about your controlled territory. The people who killed your citizens, they must be there. Arrest them, right? Punish them and call it a big victory. That will give the tiger, so to speak, or the media or the Hindutva mind some kind of sedative for time being. Then you say that, okay, Iran is our friend, Saudi Arabia is our common friend, America is, China is. Let us engage with some kind of evidence sharing.
Let me ask you one question, and I don't have any information, and I was going through all these newspaper and the research material, but I could not find any news about anyone offered resignation or asked to resign, because even if there was involvement of any external element in that incident, but the responsibility and onus lies in the burden lies on the Indian government and administration. Was anyone asked to resign because of their failure to protect their citizen? No. Why? Why?
It is a question or rhetorical?
It is a question. Why no one asked to resign?
In today's India, you can't do that. You can't ask the people in power to resign. Because if you do that, you might have to resign from your life. Right?
Okay.
The people are killed, they are cornered, they are destroyed.
Why not even any low-ranking police official was asked why it happened?
Look, first
you should go home because you don't deserve to be in the police service.
On the second
you
day,
failed to protect the lives of the people.
2 days after the attack, there was an APC, right? All parties conference. Kiran Rijiju, the parliamentary minister of state, actually spoke to media. And there, in his sound bites, he said that we confessed that there was a failure, but we are fixing it, right? But then what happens? Within minutes, he actually uploads his statement on Twitter. But out of that acceptance of failure is removed, right? And entirety of Indian media runs with that clip.
Wow.
This is the state of control of Indian media.
Wow.
Right? This
unbelievable.
Since 2015, Western authors keep on writing how democracies die. If you want to look at some case where democracy actually is dead, it is India.
classic case study.
Yeah, it is a
All
case study.
Maybe, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Farooq Pitafi Saab, for your time and your candid conversation and honest opinion about whatever happened. And the viewers, we are taking a short break, but we will continue our discussion after a short while, but do stay with us.